injury update. Cam Fancher, as we found out after the game, has a pretty significant turf toe injury. So his status for this weekend is in question. He tried to do a few things today, was out yesterday in a boot yesterday. Tried to do some stuff today. Looked okay doing it, so I'll get some further reports. I would call him day to day based on the progress of that. But the MRI showed some damage down there. Milan Tucker has a stress reaction, or what it's I guess a precursor to a stress fracture. Pain that kind of jumped up and bit him. He said, kind of been a sore foot, if he is on his foot, sorry, for a couple weeks. Nothing that had really bothered him a whole lot, according to him, and felt a pretty good twinge on that one long catch he had, and went in MRI and showed what it showed. So other than that, I think we're good. Dr. Richardson got his cast off finally, so he will be available to us, should be available to us. Other than that, excited to have another go around this Saturday. I know everybody, including the players most, but everybody in our program wanted the outcome certainly to be different this past Saturday night. But I also know that I would be a hypocrite if literally every day I preach to our players about, attacking every rep, every second of every day, going 1-0 and worrying about the steps to success and not the result. And for us to show the kind of improvement that we did, again, we all wanted to win. We all know that, there's still certainly work to do. But the last time we played a non-Power 5 or an FBS opponent, any FBS opponent, was in Source, Connecticut, and we looked like a JV high school team that night. And so for 3 weeks later, to have the kind of game for as long as we did against a 5-1, really, really good North Texas team, I think deserves mention, and our players need to realize that they have put themselves on the doorstep of success. This isn't the doom and gloom that it was the Sunday after the UConn game. We actually can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can make a couple first downs. We can score a couple points. We can stop the outside zone from time to time. Like they proved that against really, really good competition. And now maybe the most important part is what's left, and that's to kick the door in. Now that we're on the doorstep of success, the hardest part is yet to come, and that's learning how to finish, learning how to be at your best, not just for extended periods of time, as we learned how to do against North Texas. But now we've got to be at our best in very, very critical moments, and we're hit or miss right now, and trying to figure out the best way to accelerate that process.
I'm sorry to hear about both Cam and Milan, because they both had really good games
Yeah.
this past weekend. How has Milan's progression and maybe Jabari Smith helped the confidence of that wide receiver room?
Well, I hope a lot. That's a group by committee, certainly. Amari has stood out the last few games, but when you go into training camp and you say, okay, these are the 6 guys that we think are our best 6 and who are going to play the most, and 4 of those guys aren't available to you anymore, that changes things quite dramatically, and there's a relearning not just with the coaches learning these wide receivers, but definitely the quarterbacks too. And so Jabari's a guy that we saw as a redshirt last year continue to make progress, was a scout team player of the week numerous times. I can't emphasize that enough. Like, that matters. How you practice, even when you're not on the travel squad, matters. And so, yeah, it's a guy that just continues to earn our trust as a youngster. And then, Milan, plays the same position as Omari. So those guys kind of split reps, and it just so happened that the ball went to that position a little bit more when Omari was in, and in this game, it was the opposite, and he delivered as well.
Another one that had a good game was Wyatt Sullivan. I know you guys have been waiting because of the injuries to get the tight end room rolling, but that looks like that may have been a problem solved.
I never want to say problem solved. Us coaches, we'll create problems even when there aren't any. But no, Wyatt, man, you want to talk about development. I talked about walking and chewing gum at the same time earlier. I'm not sure that he could have done that when we got here. I mean, this is a guy that was had just had hip surgery. He was trying to change his body from a wide receiver body to a tight end body. He'd never gotten in a three-point stance, never blocked anybody really, and so to see him transform into the player that he is now, and to see the ceiling that he has still left, has been fun to watch, but fun to be a part of. Coach Lunsford and Coach Fry and Coach Joey, our strength coach, are all big parts of that too. And so, and the biggest part's Wyatt. This guy, he had like 3 straight drops in that the pregame warm-up in all that rain and whatnot, and he went in, dumped the ball in a bucket of water, and had Case and Wiseman screaming him fastballs in the locker room just to get his hands warm, back, confident in his hands, and he goes out and catches that ball. That's a harder catch than you think, to catch that thing on a wet night with your hands when you're that wide open, kind of backpedaling a little bit to get it to. So it was fun to see him kind of get that confidence. And yeah, I mean, this is a guy that if he continues this trajectory of improvement, I think, we're gonna have something really, really good.
Another one who changed his body a lot since you've been here is Chris Jones.
Yeah.
And he's had tremendous success in the pass rush. Can you talk a little bit about his transformation over the last year and what he means to that unit for pass rush?
Oh, he's a great leader. Chris Jones is part of our leadership council here, and just really, really smart guy. He's one of our we call him bulls on our punt team. That's a very, very trusted position on this team as well, and he plays that. So I think of the word trust when it comes to Chris Jones. And then you mentioned him changing his body. I think he was. This is just an old man's observation. I think Chris wasn't ever quite the player that he thought he could be. And he was always looking for a reason. Maybe I'm too light. Maybe I'm too heavy. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe you just need to, find something, stick with it, and do it over and over and over again. And that's what he's done. He's living at a good body weight, for the position that he's playing. He feels, strong but quick, living at that weight. And, you combine that, freedom with your body, with his intelligence, and you're seeing a really good season out of him.
Lastly, for me, you're going in 5 games in, it seemed that everything clicked. The offensive line had a good game, the running backs were working, the wide receivers were working, and then Cam has the best game that he's had in his career. Do you attribute that to them finally being together for 5 games and you guys seeing them play actually for 5 games?
Yeah, and it hasn't even been 5. Daughtry, has been missing the last few games. Our tight end room has been a hodgepodge, with guys in and out of injury. So I think for the most part, it has been fairly consistent. So that has been good to see. Other than the tackle in Daughtry, our offensive line, even though we rotate a guy or two, it's the same guys, right? Like you said, the two tailbacks have been the same. They've stayed, knock on wood, pretty healthy. So, yeah, I never thought about it that way, but I do think, every week we kind of figure out a little bit more about ourselves on what we can do well. I thought we could block North Texas up front fairly well, and it was good to see that we were right. And now this will be a different challenge. UTSA is 8 of 11 starters back on defense, 2 all-conference D tackles, and that's coming from Conference USA, the American Conference. So they're going to be really, really good on that side of the ball, and especially their front seven. So each week's a new challenge and presents us new challenges of okay, what can we do against these guys? Yeah, we could do that against North Texas, but maybe can't do it against UTSA, and maybe we couldn't do some stuff against North Texas that we can do. And so that's where the game planning, the personnel, and all that stuff come into play. But having just the sliver of continuity that we've had these last couple of weeks, has helped.
Speaking of UTSA, that's been a team that historically has been a trenches team. Do you see the same thing as you head into this weekend?
Yeah, big time. I got a ton of respect for Coach Traylor, and I often look at their program. I think of them very similarly as ours. I think their program was born within 5-8 years of ours, and we've been in the kind of same come up in conferences, and from FCS to then whatever we were to then Conference USA to now American. And so it's been neat to see what he's been able to do, with the support that he has there, and what he's built in 5 years. And so, and he's done it in a way that I respect, and he's done it with toughness, with grit, with defense, with line play, and you sprinkle in a really good quarterback with that, and usually good things happen. And he's got a great culture. They're going to be tough. I told our guys on our Monday team meeting, again, I respect a lot about North Texas in different areas, but the one thing that sticks out, like when you watch UTSA, is their physicality. And so that's not to say we're scared of them or that, but anything other than, hey guys, this is a different animal. And, when the ball gets kicked off on Saturday, this is what you need to expect.
Coach, first off, if Cam can't go this week, who could we expect to get the start?
You would see Kaysen, but fortunately Tyreek has been cleared. So then he would be backing him up, and depending on the amount of reps that Cam gets in practice this week, then obviously Tyreek would get.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a couple things about Amari. He's kind of primary option in the passing game. Obviously, last year, you lost to LeJontay West transfer portal. BJ has the season-ending injury. How important has it been for him to kind of step up and take charge of the wide receiver?
Yeah, huge. We've had prior to this year, 2 out of the last 3 years I was head coach, we had the leading receiver in the country, and Devin Duvernay at Texas and LeJontay Wester here, and they both played the same position Omari plays in this offense. And so there's a lot expected at that position. I think we've got some other capable guys in Milan and Caleb Coombs that Omari's not going to get the targets that maybe LeJontay got last year, being kind of a one-shot in that room. But it's just been, again, you talk about growth, and I know in today's college football, everything microwaved, and you look at a guy like Wyatt Sullivan. I mean, of course he couldn't play last year. Listen to what I just told you. He had hip surgery. He was a wide receiver. He's never even gotten a three-point stand. And now look where he's at, you know. And so all of these things, Omari's the same way. Like, this is a guy that was running scout team last year, you know, and they grow, they develop, and it takes time, and you can't rush time, you know. And I wish I could. I wish I could get all of these guys that are going to be great players someday to be that today, but you just can't. And but I'm glad Omari, I think, you know, he just got added to our leadership council. You know, he's a guy that just continues to do things right. And for a traditionally soft position, he exemplifies the toughness that I think most of us wants to exemplify as well.
Yeah, you mentioned him as part of your leadership council. Now, what has kind of separated him from the rest of the group that, you know, made you give him that kind of honor?
I don't know that you asked a question about what separated him. This part hasn't, because I want to say, you know, he's consistently consistent. Like, he's a do-right guy. Now, we've got plenty of those in the wide receiver room, and that's, we got a tremendous group of guys. But he's a do-right guy that is also balling out on Saturdays, as they say. You know, I think you put those two things together, and that's what separates him from, you know, we got a lot of do-right guys that maybe don't play a lot on Saturday, and the guys that do play a lot on Saturday may have their issues. So to find one that everything pretty much the right way and produces, it's been fun.
Yeah, was this kind of jump in production from him expected out of you, or, you know, did it kind of catch you by surprise a little bit?
I don't even know how many catches he has. So, like, I don't know how productive he is. I know when we've called his number, he's delivered. And that's not to say that other guys haven't. It's just the ball has found him more. I think that's a testament to him, and maybe a chemistry with the quarterback or whatever. But, yeah, I just think he's a guy